Hello, and welcome back again to AeLa Jam. In case you tuned in the past few minutes, AeLa Jam's our little game jam we do with the whole Aesthetician Labs team. That's me. We've got Noah talking to us in the background of our little Google Hangouts chat. Yep, there's Noah. Sam's also helping out, helping to run the stream. The reason we do our game jams like this helps us generate ideas, so we always have a bank of prototypes to iterate off of. It's a good, convenient situation. Yeah, Sam's there in chat. So the format, one day, two developers, two prototypes. We just switched off from Noah, who's working on some sort of slicing kind of game. I'm working on a trampoline game here. And if you're interested in more information, go ahead and check out our website, aesthetic.games. So let's take a look at what I've got here so far. So right now I think I have all the basic functionality in, and the next thing on my little checklist here is to tune it until it feels nice. So it all works, but it doesn't feel great yet, but I do have all the controls I think I need to make it feel good. So you bounce, and when you click you go down faster. These are a little too far apart right now. And if you hit a bunch of them in a row, you go up high. If you miss one, no big deal. That little springboard gets you ready to hit the next one, and so on and so on. So something that I know will improve the feeling is I want to add a little running guy with animations. It's always hard to predict how that's going to improve sort of the game feel, but it always does, inevitably. Go for it. It's also a great kind of avenue for feedback. One thing I was thinking about in my pre-jam brainstorming is that how does the player get feedback that they're going down? Because like probably through the stream it's hard to see exactly when I'm clicking, because it's not like a huge drastic like snap down. But I think that'll become very clear when the player like model stops its going up animation and starts its like soaring down towards the trampoline animation. So right now it's possible to get so high up above the trampolines that you can't see them at all. But eventually I'm going to add, not eventually, literally after I get done with it until it feels nice, I'm going to add rings that are up in the air, which I think will be helpful because they'll kind of give you a nice guide. For now, actually, I am going to add like a little marker to the trampolines. I'm just going to add a plane, just something really nice and quick. Go to 2D, 1, 0. And I'm going to add like some hash mark lines right behind the trampoline just to give a feel for how high you are. At 10, 1, and 11, yeah. And then another one at 21, and another one at 31, 41, 51, that's 84, 51. Okay. I'm going to bring these in a little closer. I'm having trouble getting to the next one. Okay, that's a little too close. I think. Let's see if that helps. Okay, so another thing I can do is I can increase the downforce, which will make the player gain a little bit more height each time. All right, so I think that's working for the time being. I don't want to get too bogged down in tweaking variables now, because I know that inevitably, are they getting progressively further apart? Oh, sorry, I wasn't paying close enough attention to the chat. Sorry, Sam. Are they getting progressively further apart? Not yet. And since as we jump higher, there'll be more room to come down. That is something that I'm thinking about continuously. The other problem is I want it to be so that if the player fails, they're not just like done. So I need to make it flexible. I have a few ideas for how to make it so that it's a little more forgiving by kind of correcting the player. Because right now, you're always moving the same speed horizontally. Like you bounce, but your horizontal speed stays the same. It's only your vertical speed that changes. So something I can do is, if you're too late like that, I can make it so that you go straight down. Like I can slow your horizontal speed. Or if you start going down and you're too early, I can speed up your horizontal speed a little bit so that it gets you onto the trampoline. And just so long as I only do that while the player is pushing down, I think that'll be really helpful. The way I want to do the animation for the player character, I kind of want it to fly like a plane straight down and then like flip at the last second to land and go back up. So it'll almost give it a little bit of a gliding through the air feeling, which, as we've learned from Chain Hero, feels pretty good in practice. So I think this is another good place to apply just a little bit of that plane feeling. I always really like when you can get a solid sort of gliding feeling. So what's the most important piece of visual feedback? I think it is the player, and I also think that'll be something that'll be really fun to do on stream, some animations. So I'm going to bring in the player. Let's open this player prefab. And I'm going to make a copy of this character. Okay, so I can drag in this character. He's a tad too big. Actually, I'm gonna adjust the size in there so that I can just do that. Rig humanoid. And I'll just start to control it. Okay. We need to make an animator. Animator controller. I'll call it player. Okay, we'll go in here. I can get from our library meat sauce the humanoid run animation, the idle animation. I'll set the idle to the default state, and I'll make a transition to run. And the first step will just be to have him run. We can remove this mesh renderer. And off he goes. Off like a shot. Okay. So I want to make the player controller listen to the game manager game state. So I'm going to steal a little snippet from another script just because it's it can be quicker that way. Down here, and then anything I want to do when the state changes can happen in there. So I can also say if game manager dot instance dot state equals game state dot gameplay. Then we'll update the player movement. Otherwise, we don't want the player to move. And if e game state e dot state gameplay. So we just want to do this once because we only want to do it when the state changes. Animator dot set bool moving equals moving true. Okay. Create a bool. Make that transition happen when moving is true. player will need a reference to the animator. And we'll need to make it so that game manager doesn't move straight to gameplay. And we'll just do a quick way. Add input, gotta mouse down. Get to mouse button down before we set state to gameplay, and then that way we'll just wait. And so now the player will idle till we click and he starts moving. Awesome. So let's think about the different states the player might be in. So there's the idle state, and there's the running state. And then there's jumping up in the air, falling down, and jumping, essentially. Yeah. Okay. So let's make some animations. Open Blender. Wait for it to launch. We'll import our character model here. Go to the animation tab and go to the action editor. And we'll just save the default pose. All right, so let's create a car fall. One thing that makes it a little easier is if we set the bones to display in front. And so for the fall, I want it to be like in a flying pose. So we'll just, it's pretty similar. I'll rotate the arms out gradually at each joint because that's the most kind of realistic. Same here at the head. It's looking straight up because I'll rotate this player asset with code. So I don't actually need him to be oriented correctly. And you want to have this player dive with good form. So I'm going to have them get those toes pointed. And just get the legs as straight as possible. And get those legs right tight together. Oop. And then I can just override these keyframes And there we go, there's this pose. And now I want to make a like going up pose, which I want to be a little more loose. So I'll go back to the default pose because that's what I want to base it on. Make a copy. Call it character. That was fall. So I'll call it car raise. Care raise, whatever you want to say. Just because I think that makes a little more sense. And we want the blade to be looking up, but not as much. We'll bring the legs up some. Add a bit of an evenness there. Bend the back slightly. Slope the shoulders in. And bring the arms down. But rotate them a bit. Bend the hands. So I'll set this as keyframe 1. And then I'm just gonna copy all that, put it on 20. I'm gonna make a second keyframe that just sort of adds some movement. So we'll sort of be like pedaling up into the air. So that's just a little bit of liveliness. Let's apply these. All right, so go to animator. So once we're moving, we're not in idle. Run will be the default state. Humanoid rig, so those animations come in. Because this is the first import, they should all just raise. And fall. Fall. Raise. Save. Why isn't it there? There it is. We've got fall, raise, and default. Apply those import settings. We can bring these in. So we'll want to go to raise first, and then fall. So we'll want a bool called on ground. So if we're not on the ground, then we'll transition to going up. And we'll make a float called vertical speed. If our vertical speed is less than 0, as in it's negative, then we'll transition to fall. And if we're on ground, then we go back to run. Ground is false. Okay. So let's then track those variables here. Private bool on ground, private vertical speed. I already have the detection set up for the ground. If I just do ground on ground, it's true. On ground is false. And I can make that change right here in the detection. Animator.set bool. Did I make it capitalized? Yes. On ground. On ground. We'll set it this that way so that it can be the same line. So that's our on ground. And when we're updating the player movement, we can go ahead and do animator.set float body.velocity.y, or that'll be the value. Vertical speed. And I think that's easier, so I actually won't use this vertical speed. Let's see if that does it correctly. There's a good chance it won't, because that's how these things go. And of course it won't actually rotate the animator, but it'll be a start. Alright, well that didn't do it quite right. Let's take a look at the parameters. So we start. On ground is true. Moving is not true yet. There's exit time, so this might be the cause of our problems. Let's get rid of the exit time just so it goes straight to it. Hey, there we go. And something that occurs to me is it actually can't go right back to raise. And we want this to happen if vertical speed is greater than 0. All right, so that's the start. Okay, next up, I need to Just make sure that loop time is on for these, because I don't think it is by default. And I want all of my animations to loop. And then I want to basically make my own little velocity value that gives the direction, and then set the player to that direction while we're not on the ground. And I'm actually going to clean things up a little bit. I'm going to make a update animator. Put that in there. Actually go ahead and add that in there as well. And we can call this an on update. And we want that to happen all the time. So now we set the vertical speed. Okay. If not on ground, real velocity will be a float that is the rigid body's velocity plus the movement I'm doing. And actually it won't be a float, it'll be a vector. Real velocity equals body dot velocity plus this. So it's just both. No, I forgot what the song was when I added it. Love that. Can we access that transform? Nah. Animated child. Oh yeah. I want to just do a slurp between the current up and real velocity dot normalized by delta time. Actually, I'll do dt. Oh, it's not coming through the stream. Hold on, let me address this. Noah, can you talk for a second? I must not have Hangouts coming through the right audio channel.
I didn't think about that at first.
All right, no, it should be coming through now.
All right.
So you haven't been coming through all up until this point, but now you should be coming through.
Silencing me, bro. Bro, I thought we were friends, bro.
It was all set up on Discord, and then we had to switch. I thought we were friends.
Bro.
I thought so too. My subconscious has come out. I was silencing you intentionally.
Ooh. This song's going, dude.
Yeah, you always want to hear like crazy dinging sound effects. In case you wanted to listen to the music we're listening to, you could join our Patreon and then join the Patreon Jukebox channel and listen to all these hot tracks and make us listen to hot tracks.
No, my builds are failing.
Oh no.
My builds!
My builds!
I forgot to do the important step of setting up the produce.
Producer, produce me a project. Okay, that ain't right. And up, rotation, forwards and upwards, onward and upward. What if the trampolines were large men with full bellies that you shoulder slammed to bounce?
What?
I mean, I don't know why not, really. Chest bump. You just chest bump these giant, large men to fly up in the air.
Sam.
Get weird with it. Do people...
Wow.
Was chest bumping like a thing back in the day and it's gone now? Or, like, what happened to chest bumping? Chest bump. I know there's going to be a fantastic Wikipedia page for chest bump.
I'm just not in a frat, so...
Is it a frat thing?
Maybe.
Giving dap.
Giving dap? I don't know about all that.
I'm on this great Wikipedia page called Giving Dap. One variation of the dap greeting is happening here. That's not a chest bump. So there's not a Wikipedia page for chest bump. I'm surprised.
Maybe it doesn't actually exist.
This is like a thing where you like bump chests with someone. Like this definitely is a
Berenstain Bears, dude. Doesn't actually exist.
chest bump.
I just thought it exists. Like Norway.
Okay, it's definitely real. These people are all chest bump championships. Oh, there's competitive chest bumping.
Well, I mean, there's pictures of Norway online. Doesn't make it real. Oh, it's Finland, isn't it? That's
Yeah,
legit.
Finland is the one that's not real.
Oh, jeez. I was wrong. Oh, gosh. The move script is still on these. Oh, boy.
You gotta be careful not to also bump faces. This guy looks like Jonathan Venner a little bit. Maybe it is. I can't say for sure that it's not. This seems like the sort of thing he'd do. So we do the up. And the forward. We want to be right.
Oh, geez. We got a jam.
What do you mean?
There's a jam in my game. Not as in this is our game jam that we're doing actively, but things got jammed up.
Ah. Yeah, I was also confused. Does this work? well, this doesn't seem to work. This isn't really what I wanted. I guess maybe I can... It's up and it's... Okay, I'm gonna make some targets so this can be a little cleaner, I think. Vector 3 dot right. I want that to be the up. Let me look at the docs for this. Alright, so let's see. Maybe I need to do this a little more concretely. I can't just set the up. It'd be too easy. First, let me make sure that the real velocity is even correct. Up dt by setting this to 1 so that it's not smooth. It's not smoothed. It's just applied. We won't be looking in the right direction, but okay, so it is applying it. It's just not as much as I'd like. Well, let's cheat then. I can just add a 2 in there to increase that. More? I guess I get that it's that much. 50. Like that should do something. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. One thing that occurs to me is that it rotates maybe about the pivot that's non-ideal. Because if we're like this, and if we actually look at what the player looks like with collider, we actually kind of want it to rotate about the middle. Well, I think I can fix this if I just edit the pivot of the model. Which, can I do that? Or I can even just
Thank you.
add a pivot here and then have it rotate about this. And that should improve. And now the collider looks like this. Yeah, that's much closer. Beautiful. So that's looking pretty good. At some point it actually started working. I don't know when that happened. I wasn't paying attention. Oh, I think it's because the animated pivot is at 0, 0 already. I mean, hey, I'll take it. I'm certainly not going to be one to complain about it just starting to work, you know, unintentionally. That's the good direction for things to go. All right. So that's nice. Let's give a material to the player. Player. Make the player pink. It's a nice color for a player to be. Okay, ground material. Just material things up a bit. All right. Apply all that. We're really somewhere now. He's got like the Portal long fall boots. Slams into the ground at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Just like runs out. No problem. Alright. Now I want to add some feedback to the trampoline. So, I originally had some big plan to like have this thing like grab the player and hold it, and that all seems like a lot. And also I do like the feeling of the like instant bounce. I think that feels tight and snappy, and I don't want to sacrifice that. So what I might do, actually, is say, hey, instead of bouncing off of this platform, I'll make a platform that's lower, and I'll have this just go boop boop, like with the player. And one thing I can do later, if I want to add like a nice trampoline asset that's got like a platform, whatever you call it, the mesh part that moves and has animation, then I can just like maybe do a bone and add it and attach it to that, and that'll all be easy. I am going to do that though, so I'm just going to duplicate the platform, open prefab, and we'll keep platform, we'll call bounce pad. And bounce pad I'll move down to just above the ground. Except I'll remove its mesh collider. Or its mesh renderer rather. And this one I'll remove the collider and the trampoline and the rigid body. And at first, nothing will happen because I didn't save those changes, and then I also need to revert this here. Now it should actually bounce lower than the trampoline's platform. If I can yeah, so it actually goes in. I want to rename this script to bounce pad. It's going to break the reference. No big deal. Oh no, it didn't. Perfect. Easy. Create another script called trampoline. in that I'm going to hide so, all right, public vector 3 start position start position equals transformed opposition, and I'll say public float max sync, draw gizmos. I'll just draw a line from okay. Actually, I kind of want that to be a range. I'm gonna call it max distance. And that way you can go like 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 at the top. Duplicate that. Put that on the up. So that gives us a sort of wobble. Get a player transform. Consolidate some Chrome tabs off screen briefly. So I got everything I need. Okay. On trigger enter if other dot compare tag player hit equals true, player equals other dot transform if hit. And so we basically want it to move down so we need to get the bottom of the player. on the y. Transform dot plus, I think it's just, that'll give us 1 unit down. And then if, or we'll say transform, I don't know why I'm indented now, dot position equals vector 3 dot basically we'll clamp it to max distance, but we'll do or actually we want an arrow from I'm just doing this because I actually don't want it to move on X or Z. Okay, and then that vector is minus so that should only allow it to go down to the bottom. Bounce pad. I'm actually going to keep the max distance small just so we can make sure that that works. And I'm also going to give it just a trigger collider on tag. I mean, hey, that kind of worked already. Okay, so I'm going to track the player up until it's at start position. If think that's good enough to get us started. I could do more, but I'm just going to leave it at that for now. Excuse me. What happened? This trampoline. Here's the bounce pad. Maybe if I just make bounce pad thicker. Alright, so we're getting somewhere. I'm not sure why that happens sometimes. I'm gonna keep trying to track that down. And even if I decide to make these trampolines giant large men with full bellies, I can still use this script. It still applies. So is it that it's hitting the ground? Maybe that's the problem? I'm just gonna on collision enter debug.log collision.name. We'll just give it the name out every time it collides with something. A little slow for now, but it should give us some insight.
It's really hilarious when like I'm looking at the stream right now and it's just like a collection of pixels.
Yeah, is it really bad right now?
It's back now. It just occasionally like gets real bad.
Once in a while. Yeah, I think it's basically the same issue as it was that you're having, but I think it's better for the stream to like keep going and have the sound come through and it get to be pixelated than it to go to like the little circle like spinning, no stream playing.
Right.
All right, so frequently is hitting the ground also. That's something that we can know. So we hit ground and bounce pad. Ground and bounce pad. So I think it's for we're hitting the ground first. I'll just lift the trampoline up. That could help. All right, I got 10 more minutes left. I'm gonna add a few little bit of polished things, and then decide what I'm gonna do while we're gone. So first, I'm gonna add back in some smoothing. Public float. Actually, I want this to be in graphics. Public float. Rot lerp. I don't want it to just be one. Like, that's good, but I want there to be some smoothing. So we'll start out with it super fast, like 10. That still might not be fast enough, but all right. So that is mostly the same. But if you hit the ground, he puts his feet down instead of instantly snapping. I like how nice it looks when he runs off the edge. It occurs to me that I could also have it set up like, let's do 50, drag this over, create a second ground, get these last two, so I'm going to mess this up intentionally so we can see it work. Well, I messed it up too much. So you could also fall like that. Something I can do to make the falling even better. I can make this also if on ground is false. But if vertical speed is less than 0, and it could be this one if vertical speed is greater than 0. So that way if you walk off an edge, it goes straight into the going down animation instead of going through the going up animation. So if we go up, it's all exactly the same. But that transition still has exit time, so it doesn't look right. Yeah, it just takes us right off. Beautiful. Nice. So, we make a commit. Let's evaluate where we are. So it feels pretty good. I added guy asset a little early. So next I want to add rings. Yes. And I want to add a win and lose state. I think the rings will be helpful. I also want to add aim assist, which is what I'm calling that adjustment of your horizontal speed when you're moving down. So if you're tracking like you'll go past the trampoline, then it'll make you go straight down. Whereas if it's looking like you're going to go ahead of the trampoline, it'll make you go a little faster horizontally. That rings a win and lose state. I think I have an idea for a win and lose state that could be pretty fun. I'm gonna do a little sketch in Photoshop here real quick. Or I should say win state, because I don't think you can lose this game. Larger document than that, please. So you got your level here and your trampolines, and then the win is like a series of platforms, and it's like 10 points, 20 points, 30 points, 40 points. So whatever platform you land on, you get some more points or something.
I thought it was going to be the thing where you like dunk through the hoops and then you get them stacking as you go.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I should do that as well. Or not as well, I should do that instead. But yeah, I like that actually, because then you go up and then you go like boom, 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 and then you land and then you dance. You get like a funky dance man here. Yeah, so it's like a wall with the hoops. Yeah, because that'll make sense because they'll have the rings already that give you points when you go through them. Easy. So I had to add rings that give points. And that'll just be like a wall, an invisible wall that keeps you from moving forward any further. So like you can't miss them. It's just you get high enough up to get a certain amount of them. Add end zone celebration. That's kind of polished, but you know, I'd specifically like to add that. Let me look at my cards here. I've got some Jesse Shell's The Art of Game Design deck of lenses here. Let's do a pull. So I've got the lens of simplicity / complexity. What element of innate complexity do I have in my game? So I guess the innate complexity is like the kind of challenge of timing, maybe. Elements of emergent complexity. It's not a lot of emergence. Actually, I think what I wanted from this card is from a different one I have. I thought I had the lens of simplicity somewhere. That was basically like, is there places where you can make your game more simple? Like, is there anything right now that I'm asking the player to do that they shouldn't need to do? I don't think so. Like, I think I caught myself on that early by adding the little, like, springboard. Originally, I was going to make the game so you had to click to jump when you were on the ground, but I figured, like, there's not a real good point to that. The springboard just does that for you. And it's right before every trampoline. So, like, there's no sense in making the player do something they don't need to do. Let's look at some other ones here. The lens of time. What is it that determines the length of my gameplay activities? It's essentially the length of the level, which is something to keep in mind. If I want the game to be played for 10 to 15 seconds each time, or 15 to 20 seconds rather, then the level needs to be a certain length. Because the player moves at a consistent speed the whole time, to a degree, mostly, the levels should be a certain length. So I'm actually curious. The last thing I'm going to do before I switch over to our little lunchtime thing is I'm going to time how long it takes to do this level. So we start, and you always move the same speed, so as long as you aren't blocked by a wall, you're good. And boom. Would you believe that it actually took 19 seconds and 78 milliseconds or whatever to get through that? That's like right smack dab. But with that, I think it's lunchtime. So I'm going to stop streaming, and then Noah, I guess you can go live with lunch.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
That probably makes sense. So then we can just switch dynamically right into you.
Right. Yeah, it'll be as fast as possible to switch. All right.
So in that case, I'll talk to all of you, me personally, later at 3 to 5. Well, you'll see me finishing up my prototype, and in just half an hour, at about 1 o'clock, we'll be back with Noah working on the slicing game. So we'll see you then. Stay with us.